Hello everybody, this is Mrs. Snook with section 1.7, drawing scatter plots and correlation. And our objective today is to draw scatter plots and then use those to interpret correlations between data. This will be a very calculator dependent lesson, so please make sure you have your TI-64 out and available. So a scatter plot is a graph showing data points from a data set. And you can use these scatter plots to look at how the data is correlated. So a positive correlation would mean as you're going to the left, to the right, as you're increasing on X, your Y will increase as well. And the X is considered the independent variable, and the Y is the dependent. So as X increases, Y increases. That's a positive correlation. A negative correlation would be as X increases, this time Y will decrease. And then no correlation means there is no pattern. So let's take a look at some scatter plots so you can see what I mean. You look at this one. As X is increasing, the Y is also increasing, so this one is a positive correlation. Now check out this trend. It's going down, so this one is negative. See how this is completely random? This would be no correlation. All right. So try this one on your own. Take a look at both of these correlations and decide if they're positive, negative, or no correlation. Pause your video, and then when you come back, you can check your answers with mine. So pause your video now. This one's negative. Notice your trend line is going down. This is positive. And that one, I would call that one negative. It's kind of all over the place, but it is generally trending downward. All right, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our calculators to make a scatter plot. And the data that we have is from an ice cream shop, and they're keeping track of how much ice cream they sell versus the temperature that day. And so they took a temperature over 12 days and they sold their ice creams. So the temperature, that's going to be on the x-axis. This is the independent variable. And that's because you control the independent variable. And they controlled, sorry, I'm backwards. No, they controlled that they were measuring the temperature. So that's your independent variable. Your dependent variable is how much an ice cream sells. So when we do our scatter plot, we're going to put temperature on the X, and we're going to put the ice cream on the Y. So now get your calculator. And what we want to do is enter in the data. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click on Stat. And we're going to do Edit. Now, if you have things in your data sets already, you're going to want to clear those out. I think I can just clear it all at once. Come over here. So that's cleared out. And I'm going to clear that out. So that's cleared out. So you see how everything's cleared out? You want to start with that. put in the temperature in L1. So X is going to be the L1. That's list 1. And we're just going to type in our temperatures. So 14.2, press enter. And then 16.4, press enter. And continue on until you get all of the data in for your first column. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to finish typing in the data, and then when I come back I'll have my first column done. Alright, so I have finished putting in the data into L1. Now L2 is going to be where our Y values are. So all I did is I arrowed over to the right. Now I'm ready for my L2 column. And I'm just going to enter those numbers. If you make a mistake, just hit the clear button and then you can fix it. 445, 408. Alright, so now I've got both my X and my Y in there. The next thing I want to do is make the plot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press second, and then I'm going to press stat plot, which is up here. And I'm going to turn my plot on. So I hit enter, and then I hit enter again, and that turns the plot on. And I think I'll go ahead and choose a different color. Let's make this red. And then when I go to do my graph, what I should see, I'm not seeing it yet. I'm going to check my zoom, and I like to do a zoom stat. And so there's my scatter plot. Now the next thing we're going to do, once we have our scatter plot, is we're going to find what's called the line of best fit. And we're going to do that with a linear regression. So all of our regressions are going to be linear regressions. And what that's going to do is that's going to find the line that gets as close as possible to all of the data points. So let's get our calculator back. And now to get my line in there, and I'm going to have the calculator figure out the equation of that line, and I'm going to have it graph that line for me. So first let's get the equation. I'm going to go to stat. Edit was already doing my list, so now I'm just going to arrow over one to calc. I want the equation of a line. That's number 4. Linreg, linear regression, ax plus b. A is your slope because that's the coefficient in front of x, and b is your y-intercept. So I'm going to come down to that one. I'm going to hit enter. My x list should be L1 because that's where I put my x coordinates. My y list is L2. And I'm going to leave freq list alone. I'm going to come over here to store reg EQ. That's going to be where do I store the equation for the regression. And I want to put that in Y1. So when I graph, it'll graph that one. So to do that, I'm going to go over here to vars. Arrow 1 over to y vars. First one is function. And I'm going to select Y1. So that put the Y1 in here. Next thing I'm going to do is calculate. So right here, y equals ax plus b. My equation is a is 30.08, b is negative 159.47. So I'm going to write this down. For my answer. So my equation is y equals 30.08. I'm just going to go to 2 decimal places. X minus 159.47. So there's my equation of the line. The next thing it gives me is r squared. R squared is your correlation coefficient. And what that tells you is how close this line of best fit is getting to all of the data. If your correlation coefficient is 1, that means it's a perfect match. So r squared equals 1, perfect. R squared equals 0, that's a rotten correlation. That means your line didn't come close at all. So now that we have our equation, we know our r squared, let's take a look at the graph. So first of all, let's look at y equals. Notice how it copied it right there into y1. I'm going to hit my graph. So the blue line, that's going to be the line of best fit, your linear regression. So this is your blue line right here. And the red points are the data points. Okay, so let's do one more just to make sure we're solid with this. So come over here. Now we have this one. Mrs. Whitney is on a numerical diet. All she has to do is eat an ancient bread called Hansa bread. It has some mysterious chemicals that make her not hungry for up to 8 hours. She's been on it for 6 weeks. And her weight is coming down fast. Below is her weight loss. So weeks on the diet, that's your independent variable because we're controlling that. So this is going to be X, and then the weight at the end of the week is the Y. So now let's go in. We're going to clear out all of our statistics stuff. So I'm going to go to Stat. And we can actually say clear the lists. There's a way to do that, but let's go ahead, let's do it the old way. We're going to clear that one. So I'm going to go to Stat, edit the first one, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the top, see how it's highlighted there? I'm going to hit the clear button, and I'm going to hit enter. Everything in that list cleared. Over here, hit the clear button, hit enter. Everything in that list is clear. All right, so I would like you on your calculators to enter in this data and then see if you can get the linear regression equation. And this time we're going to go to 1 decimal point. So pause your video now and see if you can do this one. All right, so take a look at what we have so far for our correlation. That one is a negative correlation. It's going down. And let's go ahead and get that equation. We are going to go to the Stat menu. We are going to Calc. We want the linear regression, which is number 4. L1 is our X, L2 is our Y. We're going to store this one. Let's put it in on Y1 again. So remember, hit vars. Y vars for Y variables, function, Y1 is the first one, and then let's calculate. All right, so our equation this time is negative 4.3x plus 189. And then it says use the equation to predict her weight at the end of 8 weeks. So now all you're going to do is you're going to plug in the 8. So you're going to say y equals negative 4.3 times 8 plus 189. So I'm going to quit out of here. Second, I can hardly see the quit button. Now I'm going to do negative 4.3 times 8 plus 189, and I get negative 154.6. And I didn't ask you this on this example, but let's go ahead and take a look again at the r squared. Let's take a look at our correlation coefficient. So r squared is 0.96. And that's really close to 1, so this means that this is a good correlation. All right, that's it for today's lesson. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.